Hi everybody, this is the fourth video where we will create the third dashboard in the eighth video module that focuses on, not surprisingly, dashboards. And the dashboard that we'll build here is the material consumption dashboard. So let me show you the finished version. So here's the finished version, and you can see we can select by materials, which we've done in some of our other example dashboards. And what you see over on the right side is the ending inventory. So this comes from the material consumption log. So this is the ending inventory, and then here's the time profile. A little easier to see if I pick a particular material. So let's just pick component A. And what this tells me is that I ended with 103 units. I started here with whatever that number is. I can't zoom in enough to see it, but looks like 3,000 or something like that. And then we consumed over the run. So you can just see the consumption profile there. If I look at component D, you can see that one, component module A. So in module A, of course, is the finished goods. So we start out low and we produce as we do with the other two modules. Okay, so let's look at building this. This dashboard. So here we are back in our model that doesn't have the dashboards. Well, it has the two that we created in the previous videos. So let's see how to create this dashboard. So I'm going to click on Dashboard Reports, and I'm going to call this Material Consumption. Material Consumption. There we go. And as I mentioned, the data source that we're going to have here is the material usage log. And for this one, we need to make sure that we're actually generating, or that we're actually storing that. So I showed this in the lecture, but let me go back and just make sure and show that one more time. So make sure I saved it. And then I'm going to go back into my data and definitions, and we look at the material elements, just make sure that this log material usage is true. And if we generated these automatically, which we do in this model, make sure that that initial property value right here, that you add that. If you're starting from the ending point of the case study 3, make sure that you add this log material usage true here so that it generates those values. You can also see that if you go to the results and you look in the logs and just verify that if I look at the material usage log that I do have observations there. In this case, we do. So go back to my dashboard, and now we can start building the dashboard. All right, so again, we want to use the material usage log, and I'm going to put my cards and then put my two charts. So we've got chart 1, chart 2, and so that's the format that we had before. But again, remember, you can move things around here easily. So if I wanted to have that, if I wanted to have the cards over there, I could do that. If I wanted to have these side vertically, I can do that. We'll just go with what we had. Well, if I can make it do what we had before, let's see if I can do that. I think I can do it this way. No. Learning as we go here. Let's do that. Let's try this. I'm not being very successful here, so give this just one more try, and then we'll give up. There we go. All right, so you can see, as I said, this is I'm a little bit new to this, and experimentation is key. All right, so here we are. Let's do our cards. And so what I want to do is have my material to actual, similar to what we've done in the other videos. I'm going to go and use compact, and we don't have subtitles here. I just want those the material titles. So grab that. So we got the material count there, and then the same thing, material to series. And now we see the elaboration of our materials. I'm going to go to data, set the master, multiple master filter, and then finally I will rename it, edit names. This is my material. And so no, we did this in the first video, but in the first video we were using the material table. So we were using data from the data table, And in this one, we're doing the same thing. We're creating a set of cards where one component is for each material, but we're using a totally different data source. We're using that material usage log. And so we have that, and we've renamed it. And so now let's jump over and do our first chart, which is our bar chart. So I'm going to go and put, let's see here, my material usage log. Let's see, what do I want to do? I want to do quantity. Let's do quantity to value here. And then I'm going to put the material under the series. So now we have the bar chart that we saw. And then we'll just rename this to on hand. So this is our on hand values. And so now again, if we select values, so module A, component B, do multi-select, and you can see that it's using that interactivity that we talked about earlier. So delete that. So now we have our first set here, and now we want the chart that tracks inventory over time. So I've got my chart here, and what I'm going to do here is do stock level. Let's see, lot stock level to values. There we go. Stock level to value there. And then I'm going to do time offset to my arguments. So now you can see we have the stock level here, and we have the time value here. And then finally, I'm going to do material to series so that we can actually see the different components. Also, one little note here, you see this little yellow thing? If you hover over that, what that says is the dashboard is bound to a large data set and does not currently display all of the data to retain performance. When we save it and switch to dashboard viewer, then it will show all the data. But during the dashboard editing, then it's going to not display all of that. So one thing here that I said, as I've said over and over, that trial and error is important. So why time offset is in arguments and material is in series, it takes a little bit of time to get used to that general structure. So let's go back here and right click and go ahead and rename this one to stock level over time. There we go, stock level over time. So we will save the values, and then we can get out. And now we can look. And now here, all of the values are there. So we don't see the little warning there. So even though there are a large number of records, they're all showing. And as usual, we can select any one. So for example, paint blue. If we remember from case study 3, we know that paint blue runs out. And you can see it runs out here somewhere between 80 and 90, the 80th and 90th hour. Interestingly, if I get rid of the filter there, you can see all of the consumption. I'm not sure what a value this particular plot is, all of these on-hand inventories, and we can see definitely right here that we don't have any blue paint. So if you look back, if we go back to my data and I say, well, what happens if I assume infinite availability? So let's just do that for blue paint. And we've seen that before. So we assume infinite availability. This time we'll jump into the planning tab, and let's just rerun the plan. And then we can go back to our dashboard. So we go to the results, and here's the dashboard. And now you can see that we have negative values. And so because we allowed it to go, allowed the assumed infinite inventory, it still keeps track of how much is being consumed. And so if we go look in paint blue here, you can see here's where we ran out right here before, somewhere between 80 and 90. And then here are the negative values. So again, a pretty straightforward dashboard where we're using one filter to get two different views. And I'm sure there are much more, there are much better views to do this, to see this over time. And that's something that you should definitely experiment with. In this module, in the 3 dashboards that we've built, let me just jump back here in resources, in results for a second so that we can get back to the main dashboard view. Here, let's see. So here's my results. There we go. Project home. There we go. I got the ribbon to refresh. And if I just click, we're not going to add another one, but if I just click it so we can see in the video modules, the three that we did a very small subset of all of these values. You know, we use grid, we use chart, we use pies, and we use cards, and that's it. And so you can see this whole broad range of different elements that you can have to the dashboard that we haven't explored. So that's something you definitely want to look at. And hopefully as time goes by, we'll add more videos to this module where we increase the breadth of the different elements that we use. But I hope that these three examples get you started. And remember, the key here is the export and import, so that you can export it, and save the XML files and import into other models. And that's particularly useful if you want to, say, modify a dashboard. If I want to modify it to add other components or something like that, then that export to XML is a particularly useful feature.